Hi, buddy. I'm Matt.
And I'm Steve.
And this is Marvel Reread Club.
All right, so we are here to do the rest of the annuals from 1968. We will be introducing our special guest in just a moment, but before we do so, Matt, do you have any news that you've got?
Oh, nothing much. I finally sent my novel, which I've been working on for years, to my agent, as well as a proposal for What Should Have Won That Could Have Won, a book version of that. So I sent him 2 projects, and I'm like, look, dude, I've been working on each of these for years, and I need you to not put the kibosh on them. But I've been rewatching the Godfather films for What Should Have Won That Could Have Won, and I felt very much like going before the dawn on his daughter's wedding day and was like, please don't tell me that you're not going to try to sell either of these projects. So that's what writers are reduced to, begging their agents. That's what I'm up to. What are you up to, Steve?
Well, we just found out this evening that our daughter has secured a New York City apartment.
Wow, where's she going to live?
Close to where you used to live, actually. It's 1/10 in Manhattan in the East Side. So
that is close to where I used to live. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So very close, very near the park then.
Yes. So we're very excited about that. But that is, I think, enough of us. I think that we need to go ahead and introduce our guest. So our guest today is Kelly Yates. Kelly and I were in a comic studio together for years, and I guess still kind of are virtually as we show up to shows and things like that. So, Kelly, why don't you introduce yourself and tell folks what we need to know?
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, thanks, Steve and Matt, for having me on here. Steve, congratulations on your daughter getting that apartment in New York. All
Thank
I heard
you.
was ching, but hey,
yes. Yes.
But yes, and Matt, I wish you the best with your books and everything. That's fantastic. So I love hearing stories like that of people doing things, pursuing things. But yes. Me. Okay. So yes, I'm Kelly Yates, and I've known Steve a long time. I don't even actually know how long, just through comic books and throughout the years, I mean,
probably 30 years, maybe 30 years, maybe 25, somewhere around in there.
In that range. Absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. So it's been quite a while. And I mean that the best way, actually. You know what I mean?
It just seems like it's been forever. I mean, geez.
Are we still doing this? Oh, my God.
And Kelly and I did work together a little bit here and there, a couple of times. Not much, but a little on one Telos project and on one Doctor Who project, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you are correct. So
why don't you tell folks about your projects that you work on? I'm thinking in particular, Monster Her is the one that you're currently working on.
Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. So I've been working on this one like a long time. It's not because I'm lazy or anything like that. It's just life, right? You know what I mean? I started this thing like 10 years ago. It's going to be about 100 pages. I'm writing and illustrated. Kind of the best way to think about it is a halfway house for monsters. So that's kind of the general idea behind it. And I'm probably around 85% done. So I'm pretty excited. I'm hoping that into this summer, I can really kind of wrap it all together and hopefully get a Kickstarter into this year, beginning of next year. Before that, I wrote and illustrated Amber Adams that published through Image Comics in 2009. So that was my first time actually writing anything ever. So there's just a really good learning curve, but just sometimes you just got to do it, right or wrong, just do it. I'm very proud of that work. I've done various other little projects throughout the years, pinups and trading cards and everything. But I think outside of the creator-owned stuff, I'm probably best known for my work on Doctor Who. I've been working with first IDW and now Titan Entertainment probably since 2008. So just been doing a lot of interior stuff early on, doing a lot of covers now. So I have 18 years of Doctor Who covers.
Wow.
And from that work, doing that work, actually I have a toy line. So I designed these little Kwai figures for Titan/Funimation. So I did like the whole Doctor Who range. I've done My Hero Academia, Ito. That's all the stuff I do at night when everybody's asleep. I have actually a full-time job too. So
yeah, I don't know where Kelly gets the time. We're just happy he was able to make some for us today.
Time travel. Well, I am Doctor Who so much,
I am a fan of your work. I read your 10th Doctor comics back in the day, and I'm a fan of them. So it's great to have you on.
Yes. Well, thank you. And thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. So, today we've just got 2 comics that we're going to be talking about. They are
just 2 comics, 2 huge, monumentous comics.
Yes, but just 2 of them. So we're going to be doing the Spider-Man Annual, which one? Spider-Man Annual number 5, King Size Special number 5, and Fantastic Four King Size Special number 6.
Yes.
So but they were still annuals, though, right? We're still calling them annuals. They were just calling, because I know they did that with X-Men too, like King Size number 1 and King Size Special 2. So was that their kind of term for that?
It's annuals. It's annuals. First, they just.
At first, they used the terms interchangeably. They would go back and forth between saying annual number 3 and then King Size Special number 4 and then annual number 5. And then at some point they said, no, these are different things. So, they had put out Fantastic Four Annual 1 through 5, and then they put out King Size Fantastic Four 1 through 4 later, which just made everything very confusing because a lot of these early annuals didn't say annual on them. They said King Size Special on them. And so later they would put out a separate king-size Spider-Man series. So it's all very confusing. Retrospectively, these are all referred to as annuals. So let's just call them Spider-Man Annual number 5 and Fantastic Four Annual number 6.
Sounds good.
All right.
Yes.
So we haven't talked about which one of these we're going to approach first and which one we're going to do second. Matt, do you have a particular thought on that?
Why don't I go ahead and jump in and do Spider-Man Annual number 5?
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. So, Matt, take it away.
I'm literally waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, literally. I'm not even kidding. I'm literally waiting for the other shoe to drop. There it goes. All right. My daughter just came in the door and had to take her 2 shoes off one by one. All right. So let's go ahead and jump in and do a wild issue. King Size Special, The Amazing Spider-Man number 5, at long last, the parents of Peter Parker. So there was sort of like a rule in fiction all the way up through Harry Potter of, you can't show heroes living with their actual parents. That's not cool. That heroes should be living with their aunt and uncle, and the parents should be presumably dead, never spoken of, just completely never spoken of. Where this rule comes from, why this became a rule, I have no idea. But it was sort of understood from the beginning that Peter Parker lived with his aunt and uncle. Then his uncle was killed in the first story they did. And then he lived just with his aunt. And who were his parents? Why did he not live with them? We would never know. Well, finally, they've been putting out at this point, 7 years of Spider-Man comics. And they said, hey, here's a Spider-Man story we've never told. We could go ahead and tell the story of his parents. It's like, okay. And what can you tell us about his parents? I'll tell you what. They were spies for the Red Skull, which is like, okay, I didn't see where that was going. That's not going the direction I thought. So let's start with this cover. This cover is really interesting. It shows Spider-Man with all of his supporting cast being sucked into a interdimensional vortex as you see just the ghostly outlines of his parents at the center of the vortex, which is not exactly what I would think would be the cover of this issue. Presumably the cover is by Larry Lieber. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. It's actually signed by Romita.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Well, bottom left corner.
It is. It is signed by Romita. That's interesting. He does not do the inside. This takes us to the inside. The parents of Peter Parker, phantasmagorically produced by Smilin' Stanley and Larrupin Larry Lieber, LARRUPIN', Larrupin Larry Lieber, embellished by Mickey DeMeo, who is really Mike Esposito, lettered by Artie Simek, Jazzy Johnny Romita, chaotic consultant. So not only does he provide the cover, but he's doing some sort of consultant work on the inside.
I'm guessing he's probably touching up a lot of the Spider-Man figures throughout the book. That's my guess.
That's not a bad guess because the art in this issue looks pretty great. I would say this is the best illustrated issue that Larry Lieber has ever done. Last year, he did annual number 4, and they withheld his credit until the end of the issue. At the beginning, they're like, you won't believe who's doing the art in this issue. You'll find out at the end. And then at the end, they go, like, it's Larry Lieber, which I think was their way of going, like, isn't he much better now? And he's only gotten better. He hasn't illustrated any books for the year in between, and now he's back. And I think this issue looks great. What do you guys think about the art in this issue?
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was top notch for, well, I don't, if I'm jumping too far ahead, please forgive me. But what I was impressed about, like these two annuals, just real quick about these, is the stories they told actually are pretty significant in the lore of Spider-Man and Fantastic Four. But I felt like at this point, annuals actually meant something.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially these two.
Yeah, these had some meat on the bones, right? This wasn't just like a throwaway story. You know, I mean, these are things that popped up over the years and everything. But Spider-Man specifically, I really like the art on this. I'll agree with you 100% that I was really actually shocked that the Red Skull showed up. I was like, wow, okay. Okay. Yep. Captain America, good crossover. Okay, yeah. So,
yeah. Well, of course, the big difference between these two annuals is that Fantastic Four instantly transforms the status quo of the main Fantastic Four book. The main Fantastic Four book, at this point on, it's like, okay, they're going to have a baby from this point on. The whole book is going to change as a result of this annual. Whereas the Spider-Man annual won't change nothing, because in the Spider-Man main book, when I was collecting Spider-Man comics up until 1990 or so, around the time McFarlane came on the book, when I stopped buying it, they never referred back to this story. But let's go ahead and do the story. The parents of Peter Parker, we begin with, bizarrely, Spider-Man is in the Casbah in Algeria, and he's being attacked by a bunch of goons with those sort of wavy dagger type things and guns, and one of them's throwing a parapet down onto him. He fights them for several pages. Really shockingly good art by Larry Lieber. Really feels like Romita. I don't know what cat a consultant is, but maybe he's helping with the art in some way. And it's several pages, but then Spider-Man finally gets shot in the head in page 7 and falls into the water and seemingly dies. And for once, it's like believable that they would assume he was dead. Like, yeah, you're not going to dive in that water looking for him. And it's believable that he would fall in the water. It's believable they would assume he was dead. It's believable that he wouldn't pop up right away. And it's believable enough that he does manage to eventually pop up and drag himself back onto the curb. So that's all a shocking number of things I just said, because usually when you do a comic book like this, some of those things aren't believable, but it's very well done, the sort of almost death here. Yes. And then
because up to that point everything was really believable, right? Up there, when that kind of did it, like that was the thing, get shot in the head or grazed right there. Yes,
right. Yeah.
But so then he flashes back to how he ended up here, which of course we're all wondering, like Spider-Man isn't usually in Algeria and the Casbah being attacked by assassins. What is going on here? And he has a bizarre flashback to when he was helping Aunt May transport a big footlocker full of stuff, and then it broke open. And inside he finds a framed photo of his parents on their wedding day, and then he finds a clipping from a newspaper saying that, oh, by the way, Peter Parker's parents, Richard Parker and wife killed in plane crash in Algeria, Parker prime suspect in spy plot against the United States, incriminating evidence found upon his body. So then Spider-Man's like, Peter Parker's like, oh my God, my parents were both traitors. Now, so many things about this issue make no sense. Like, if your parents being traitors made the newspaper and you are the most picked on, bullied person in your school, the bullies will mention this. This is
that's a very, very good point.
Like,
well, I will also point out that in classic male comic book world, that the wife's name, his mother, her name is never mentioned. It's always her wife.
Interesting. I didn't even catch that. Wow.
I one time took a very hard Spider-Man quiz, and one of the questions was, what was the first name of his mother? It didn't even occur to me she's never named in this issue. She was clearly named later, because that was the only question I missed on the quiz.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go. So then somehow, when he was the most bullied person in school, no one ever mentioned, oh, and by the way, your parents were both traitors against the United States who were killed in a plane crash in Algeria, even though it made the newspaper. But now Spider-Man has just blatantly found out about this. Apparently he too, like the readers of Spider-Man, was never supposed to wonder anything about his parents. He goes up, confronts Aunt May. Aunt May's like, yep, what you gonna do? Your parents were traitors. I didn't want to bring it up to you because, it's awkward. You then get a flashback within a flashback as she remembers when the parents went overseas, and then her finding out the parents were dead and having to take over 1-year-old Peter and start to raise him.
Mhm.
I think it's really nice art on page 12 at the end of the flashback when you've got sort of this starkly lit core shadow, as you've called it, Steve, face of Aunt May saying,
Yeah.
nothing, Peter, though we wrote letter after letter, the result was the same. We never received an answer. When trying to figure out which man in Algeria had identified the bodies, Peter Parker trudges off like he has never trudged before, feeling very depressed, and then finally decides, well, there's only one thing to do. Well, first he goes around town a little bit and tries to be normal and, tries to beat somebody up for robbing a store. And the person's like, I own the store, dude. And he's like, oh, right. And then he's walking around. He walks by his supporting cast who, he can only hear the word traitor. So finally he decides, all right, I got to go to Algeria. And if I'm going to go to Algeria, that means I got to stop in with the Fantastic Four. And he goes to the Fantastic Four and it's like, okay, can you fly me to Algeria? No questions asked. And Fantastic Four is like, for you, anything. All right. And Spider-Man's like, it's okay. Just fly me to Algeria. Fly me over the Casbah in Algiers. And then I will just jump out of the plane and make a web parachute to lower myself to the ground. Then Mr. Fantastic is totally fine with that. He's like, okay, I'm not going to land. It would take me an additional 1 minute to actually land the plane, but no, I won't do it. Spider-Man then checks out all the restaurants in the Casbah.
Meanwhile, you don't need us to pick you up or anything at the end of this, right? No,
No.
You're good. You'll figure it out. Okay,
Thought.
yeah, exactly.
That's what 1-800-COLLECT is for. So then Spider-Man checks every restaurant in the Casbah looking for this restaurant owner who Aunt May told him about, finally finds him. He's wearing a fez. This whole thing is sort of similar to Casablanca. Beats him up, finds out where to go, finds out the place where the spy master would be. This brings us up to modern day because then he almost got shot, or I'm sorry, did get shot and almost got killed. And he then realizes, okay, those guys were attacking me clearly because I knew where I was going. He makes it to this mysterious spy master's place, is going through the files, finds the anti-American traitor card of his father, finds his actual identification card. And it's like going, that it is true. It was always true. My own father was a traitor to his country. He was in the employ of an enemy spy organization. Then we find out the person who runs the spy organization and was running the spy organization in the late 40s, the Red Skull. What's the problem with that?
That's right. I'm pretty sure the Red Skull was missing and presumed dead towards the end of World War II and later had to be revived from some sort of a suspended animation. So,
Yes,
yeah, he should
indeed.
not have been around.
He should not have been around in the late 40s. So this whole story makes no sense. So to the extent that in the Marvel Index they later did for these issues, they said this issue is the first appearance of the Red Skull 2, that this is not the Red Skull who fights Captain America, which really only makes sense because clearly the Red Skull has been running this spy organization in Algiers for years. Obviously, if he's keeping files and the files are up to date, this is not someone who has been constantly fighting Captain America all the time. This is someone who has been here running this spy organization. And so, in fact, this is not the Red Skull who we all know and love. This is the Red Skull 2, according to...
So what
Yes.
Red Skull do we all know and love, Matt?
Oh,
Which one would that be?
Know and loathe. Fine. I should point out that this issue has the enlarged art that they often do in these things. It's a massive story and it's got a lot of splash pages and a lot of like 3-panel and 4-panel pages. Like, page 21 is the splash where he confronts Red Skull, and then the Red Skull summons up a huge goon to fight him, and that takes up 3 panels on page 22 and 4 panels on page 23, 3 panels on page 24. And then they have a massive fight that I think is very well done. This guy is better at beating people up than Spider-Man is, but then Spider-Man webs him up and is like, okay, just stand there and take it while I punch the crap out of you as long as I can. Finally beats him up, which the Red Skull is just incensed by. Spider-Man then flees. As far as Spider-Man's concerned, this whole thing's over. Like, I found my father's spy identification card. I've confirmed all the awful truth about him, and now he's pretty much just ready to leave. But then the Red Skull finds a little bit of his costume, and it's like, oh, I can give this piece of costume to the Finisher. And the Finisher.
The Finisher.
Which is not a bad name. I kind of like the name The Finisher. He kind of looks like Don Fanucci from Godfather Part 2. He keeps a coat over his shoulders at all times.
Yes.
He's sort of a gray-haired, distinguished-looking older gentleman. who is good at finishing people. Therefore, he is named the Finisher. And he keeps missiles in his car, which he launches at Spider-Man. Spider-Man flings one around with a web and knocks it down into the water. But then the other one is coming towards him. And I think this is a really nice sequence where it's coming towards him and Spider-Man, in a really believable sort of way, is like, okay, this heat-seeking missile is homed in on me, but it's coming from this car where the bad guy is. And now I will duck down behind the car so that the missile will run into the car. And I think it's a really well drawn, good storytelling sequence here. And the missile blows up the car, and the Finisher is now dying. His coat never comes off his shoulders, even when he's been blown up in an explosion and is dying. So it's well welded on there somehow.
He's a man of style.
He goes ahead and tells Peter the true story of his parents, who it turns out were double agents. They were undercover with the Red Skull. Now, you would think that then the American government, after they were dead, could have then said, oh, thanks everybody, this person was a double agent, we want to thank them for their work. But no, the Finisher originally killed off Peter Parker's parents, put them on a plane that was going to blow up. They really never named the mom. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then he reveals that no, your parents weren't traitors. And then Spider-Man is like, okay, I'll go back to Red Skull and somehow try to get him to affirm this in some way. He is going, Red Skull has a chair for blowing him up, but Spider-Man manages to get away from the chair. They get into a huge fight. I kind of like the Red Skull's look in this issue where he's got a green suit, a white shirt, and a flowing yellow scarf. I kind of like the scarf is kind of jaunty. I like it. And then
I've got to say, at the page 35 where Spider-Man comes in and finds the Red Skull there, Red Skull just seems to be just sort of sitting in this throne, just kind of not doing anything in particular, not addressing anybody, not reading any paperwork, not doing anything. I think this could have worked if you'd had like a John Buscema slump here, that sort of real attitude to the way you're sitting in the chair kind of thing. But he just looks like he's just kind of sitting there watching the evening television.
Well, this is a classic trope too. I mean, anytime you see somebody in a throne, they're sitting there not doing anything, like Bo-Katan in the new Mandalorian series or whatever, like series 3. There's nobody in her palace, and the Mando walks in and she's just lounging on her throne. I mean, it's just like, just sitting there at a pity party all day. It was anyway. I think we don't have time.
I would like to see a little more lounge.
A little more lounge. That's self. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So both Buscema and Kirby good at showing people lounging in thrones, but Buscema even more so. Buscema is the king. Yeah. So then they fight for several pages. Red Skull gets blown up, seemingly killed. Says the skull is gone. Did the fire get him, or was he able to make his escape? And then Spider-Man's like, well, what am I going to do trying to clear my father's name? And then he's like, wait a second. Inside this traitor card that my father used to carry that had the skull on it, inside there is his government ID. Now, how on earth this works, why he would have one ID inside the other, and why one would be any more convincing than the other one was. But he's like, nope, here's a government ID. It was inside the other ID. This one proves that he was a double agent and he was a good guy. So then that's, of course, the first half of the issue. And the second half of the issue is him then fighting to clear his father's name. No, it's not. That's the end of the issue. And he does nothing to clear his father's name. Now, you would think if like Mr. Fantastic was still involved in the story, or, heaven forbid, Captain America was involved in the story. If I were Spider-Man at this point, I'd be going straight to Captain America, going like, okay, here's the card proving my father wasn't a traitor. You hate the Red Skull just as much as I do. How can we clear my father's name? But no, Spider-Man seemingly just wanted the personal assurance. He just wanted the peace of mind, knowing that his father wasn't a traitor. But he is in no way going to convince Aunt May that his father wasn't a traitor. He is in no way going to convince the public, who for some reason weren't mocking him or bullying him about this for the years, that his father wasn't a traitor, or the U.S. government. He's just flying off, content in the knowledge that his father wasn't a traitor. And then this issue was never mentioned in Spider-Man comics until I think the early 90s. And then, certainly the people reading the normal monthly Lee Bermuda book, if they missed this issue, they would have no idea this issue existed. So that is Amazing Spider-Man annual number 5. Before we get to the back matter, let's start with you, Kelly. What do you think about this issue?
Okay, well, you did a great job, a synopsis of what we are looking at. I'm going back and everything, and I definitely agree that the art in this issue is really fantastic, really spot on, and particularly the storytelling too. I get it, I get the certain issues like, oh, okay, we can laugh at things a little bit, or it doesn't make sense or whatever. But I did like the structure of the story in the sense of it starts right off in the beginning with action. Here's your action. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's going to fight. Something's going on. It's kind of, you're building that initial mystery right there. Like, well, how did he get here? Why is Spider-Man here? Why is he the whole parents thing? And then you flash back to how he gets there. So I do really like that style of storytelling. I definitely appreciated it. I will say, the art was fantastic. I don't want to, poo-poo on it too much. But one thing that kind of throws me off a little bit when they draw Aunt May and everything is if you look at like page 11 and 12 of this issue, Aunt May right here, the first panel, she's sitting there and she's talking to Peter. Then it flashes back and Peter is a baby. What is Peter, like 15, 16 now in this issue?
Oh, I think he's like 20 at this point.
Yeah, he's in college. He's been in college a couple of years now. So
okay, so he's in college. So let's say he's 20. Okay, let's say he's 20. And you see him sitting on the lap of his dad, and he's a baby, he's a toddler, probably a year old or something like that. Aunt May and Uncle Ben, they still look old. They still look the same. That was 20 years earlier.
Yeah, I very much had the thought when we were looking at that is that they should have given her like light brown hair or something like that.
Yes.
It would have just been too disturbing. Seeing young Aunt May would have been too disturbing.
Yes.
Maybe it just would have thrown off but as an artist, that's where I get a little hung up, and I get it. I understand, like, this isn't geared towards 50-year-old me. This is geared towards, 7, 8, 10-year-old kids reading this. They don't give a crap. Right. They're gonna realize, oh, that's Aunt May. They're not gonna get hung up on it like me as an adult.
Right.
But no, I like the flow and the action of this. What else? I did find it was a little weird, Spider-Man's interaction, like going after the jewelry store guy and then kind of talking with the fan, Reed Richards and, the Thing and Johnny. Just like, it's a little weird story-wise. But, and I also realized I can go back and get my high school diploma on the ad. I love the old ads in this. Just going back to look at those. You can get your class ring. And
yeah, I love how they're like, you need your GED, but don't worry, you will get a class ring. And I'm like, okay, this feels like a scam. Like, if that's the most important thing to you is getting a class ring for a GED, like, isn't that just going to raise more questions than it will that you don't want to answer?
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, the card carrying, like when you get to the Red Skull and Peter finds his dad's bad guy card or whatever you want to call it. That was a little weird, but it's got the skull on it and that identifies, like, you're not even trying to hide you're a bad guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
No, this is the opposite of hiding you're a bad guy. You're a card carrying bad guy. You've got a skull on a card in your pocket.
That'd be like Magneto pulling out his like wallet, and like, here's my official villain card. Just, it's kind of, I don't know, it's a little weird in that range. But yeah, I love
you join the Brotherhood and you're issued your Magneto card.
That's exactly it. Good job, Steve. Yeah, I like that. But I really did like the fight scenes and kind of like the Red Skull underestimating Spider-Man and just like, this other guy is so much bigger than you. And, but I thought the story flowed well through there. The visuals were really great. Yeah, the finisher was kind of a surprise to me. I wasn't familiar with this character because I'm assuming, unless they brought him back at some point ever, this is probably the only time this character has ever appeared, right?
I would assume.
Yeah.
He's kind of cool. He looks like that stereotypical 60s, like you said, out of The Godfather type of things. I really kind of liked it. With him actually having the cloth material from Spider-Man's outfit, it's like, does he have something? Does he have some type of sense? Like, is it like almost like, well, is he a mutant? Is he a finisher? Is he like Wolverine, where he's able to sense somebody? Or you're not the Wolverine senses, but like he smells. But is he able to connect through that fabric? I mean, I think that's actually kind of an interesting angle they could have taken there.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Why does he need the fabric in order to track this guy down? What is that doing for him? We don't know. I mean, one of my problems with this issue is that the person who killed your parents, and it's the Red Skull, the finisher working for the Red Skull killed his parents, is that generally speaking, that becomes your arch nemesis. Like at this point, basically after this issue, then forget the Red Skull being Captain America's arch nemesis. The Red Skull didn't even kill Bucky, much less kill Captain America's parents. No, the Red Skull is now Spider-Man's arch nemesis. Because the Red Skull killed Spider-Man's parents, and yet never mentioned again, or not mentioned again until after issue 300. And I mean, there's so many reasons why this issue is a bad idea for the Spider-Man mythos, but the issue itself is good. This is a well-written, well-penciled story that destroys the Spider-Man mythos in many ways and was wisely never spoken of again for many years.
Yes.
I was trying to figure out what the Red Skull's chest plate, like the laser he had strapped to his chest or whatever when he opened his shirt, kind of like Superman. It's like this mechanical fire weapon at you. That was a little odd for me.
Yeah.
I know it's a comic book, but odd.
That was in Larry Liebertech there. You know, Larry Liebertech is not a famous thing. So.
Yeah. But no, and again, going back to the ads on page 38, I love it's the brand new Marvel swinging inflatable plastic pillows. I want to see what those things are. I've never looked them up online. But as a kid, if I was looking at this page and I saw that plastic pillow and like I had my face on it, I just imagine all that ink would like in a hot summer, it would like stick to your face and rip the ink off those plastic pillows or something. But those T-shirts, man, those T-shirts look so awesome. Like even now as an adult, I want like a classic T-shirt like that, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh, that'd be great.
So cool. They are so cool. So to me, that would just kind of help sell the era too that this was from, and that, you know, this was still early Marvel. They were still figuring things out, you know, and I just love that type of stuff. But yeah, I agree with that. So that's kind of my thoughts on just kind of going back through the issue and everything.
Yeah. I do find myself wondering how exactly he's getting home. He's now in Northern Africa without a passport, without any cash, without a change of clothes, you know.
And again, there was no long distance at the time. You know, I've talked before about how one of maybe the dumbest scene I've ever seen in any movie was in the Steven Spielberg movie Bridge of Spies, where Tom Hanks is behind the Iron Curtain and he calls his wife and pretends he's in upstate New York. And he's like, oh no, I'm having a fun time in upstate New York. And he does not involve an operator in any way in this. He walks up to a phone booth behind the Iron Curtain, plops in some coins, and then his wife picks up on the other end. And he's like, yep, I'm having a fun time in upstate New York. I'm like, okay, this is not how long distance service worked. This is, you know, you would certainly have to get an operator involved, and it would sound to her as if you were behind the Iron Curtain. Long distance service sucked at this point. And yeah, the thought that Spider-Man is going to somehow get in contact with Reed Richards from Algiers is a little hard to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And one other thing that this story brought up with the whole idea about his parents being spies, and that you know, it's you find this out later and you're like, oh my God, my parents were spies. Our grandmother on our mom's side had a whole story where she worked in the typing pool for a business that was being run by a guy who was doing his best to sponsor as many Jews to come over in the lead up to World War II to work in his business as he could. He was trying to get everybody out that he could and give them jobs. So there were a lot of people in the business that didn't speak the best English, but there was this one particular person who figured out that our grandma would fix his English when she was typing things up. Right, as opposed to the other women would just type up exactly what was said in broken English, but no, she would go and fix it. So then he would come and ask for her by name. So her sister, who was also in the typing pool, would make fun of our grandmother and say, "Oh, your boyfriend came looking for you again today." So fast forward to during the Nuremberg trials.
That's always a good line in any story.
And our grandmother's sister calls up our grandmother. It's like, Catherine, are you looking at the TV? Turn to channel such and such. Your boyfriend is being arrested for treason. And he was working for the Soviet Union. He was you know, with the U.S. Army, but he was passing stuff to the Soviet Union from the U.S. Army. and ended up being not tried for treason, but just basically sent to the USSR, with the whole thing about, oh no, my parents were actually traitors. I was just remembering of that whole thing about, oh no, your boyfriend is actually a traitor. Yes. Anyway, yeah, it's surprisingly good art from Larry Lieber, although there are definitely some panels where the Larry Lieberness of it sort of jumps out a little bit more than others. And I do suspect that John Romita did a fairly generous amount of touch-up work on Spider-Man's figures throughout the issue. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of what this does to the mythos, like you were talking about. And didn't they end up referencing this in one of the Spider-Man movies, the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies?
Yeah, they were setting up, I think, in movie number 2, which I never saw. They spent a long time setting up the mystery of his parents that was going to be paid off in movie number 3, I think, which they never made. So this is my understanding, despite not having seen these movies.
Right.
Well, okay. I think there was a story arc in Spider-Man in the past, like 15, 18 years or so, where they did go back and there's with his parents, some type of adventure or some type of issues coming out of that. I don't remember. I'm sure we could Google it and find out, but I think there has been a storyline with this.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think that we're done with Amazing Spider-Man. What do you think?
No, there's all kinds of stuff in the back of the issue I think we should talk about real quick.
That's right. I'm sorry. I forgot. We got more stuff.
We quickly see a day of the Daily Bugle. Then we see Peter Parker imagining what life would be like if he were a sports star. We see a map of New York City with the various locations that people live at. They're not very specific, but they're basically saying the Coffee Bean is in Greenwich Village. ESU is in sort of the Gramercy Park area. The Daily Bugle looks like it's around Times Square. Peter and Harry's pad looks like it's in the Upper East Side. And of course, Aunt May is out in Forest Hills, Queens. We have a very funny 2 pages of what if Spider-Man was drawn by other comic artists. So you've got Spider-Man as Dick Tracy, Spider-Man as Little Abner, Spider-Man as Archie. It's all very funny. And then we get a story in the back that has no credits. It says no credits for this one because nobody will take the blame, but it is very obvious who is doing this one. This is very clearly penciled by Murray Severin. And it says, here we go a-potting. According to the Marvel Index, this story was written by Stan Lee, penciled by Marie Severin, and inked by Frank Giacoya. We have good old Smiley, a.k.a. Stan Lee, Larapin Larry, that's still his adjective, a.k.a. Larry Lieber, and Jazzy Johnny, John Romita, sitting around trying to come up with the next issue of Spider-Man. They are sitting around. Stan Lee is smoking a cigar. Larry is eating sour balls, and Johnny is just sort of sitting there like Rodin's the thinker, and they're coming up with various stories that they are very clearly writing together. And they come up with a perfect story, but then Roy Thomas shows up and he's just done the same story for the Avengers, so now they have to start over. And boy, oh boy, every time that Stan Lee ever tells a story about what it's really like back in the Marvel bullpen, he always shows the artist co-writing the stories. Like, if you're someone who is still claiming in 2026 that the artists weren't co-writing Stan Lee's stories at all, now some people claim that Stan Lee had nothing to do with the stories he has his name on. I don't go for that. But if you're someone who's going to claim, no, all these artists were lying, saying that they were co-writing or writing the stories, like every time Stan Lee gets to tell the story, he always shows the artist co-writing the stories and coming up with the actual ideas, not just kibitzing. This is coming up with the actual ideas. Mm-hmm. So it's a fascinating story, very much in line with all of the other stories that Stan wrote about what things were like in the bullpen. And I think it's a very fun story, and I think it's beautifully illustrated by Marie Severin. What do you guys think of this story? Let's start with you, Kelly. What do you think of this story?
Yeah, I was really impressed by the story. I was like, oh my gosh, it's kind of like a little bit of that, I know it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, having fun, but it really is kind of a glimpse into how the process works and everything. I know modern now, everybody, writers live on one side of the country, artists live on the other side of the country. They can all work together on the internet. There really was something about being back in the offices then and everything. And just like, I think this is really a taste of it. Maybe a little bit exaggerated. Maybe the sour balls are real and everything, but I think there's definitely a big grain of truth with this. And I like your point too about this is kind of proof in the pudding for Stan Lee did do writing. He just wasn't like, here's the Marvel way, here's my paragraph, and you go draw a whole issue. I think it's a collaboration. I think this shows this.
Yeah, if this is to be believed. I mean, this is Stan Lee's version of events, but it's interesting that even in his version of events, he is extremely dependent on the artist. Now, it could be that the actual artist would read this and go like, no, Stan, you weren't even there, dude. But at least even in his version of the events, he is very artist dependent.
I absolutely love Marie Severin's comedic artwork.
Oh, yeah.
I think that that is where she really shines. And it's a real shame that she didn't get actual credit in this story. I wonder why. It's not like she was left uncredited when she was doing her work on Hulk or Doctor Strange. Yeah, I don't know about that. Also, I'll point out that this is during the period when Stan Lee had begun wearing his toupee and had a big full goatee at this point. So not the just mustache that he would end up with later, but a lot more facial hair. And as I think observed before, Stan Lee was in his 50s during his 40s, and he was in his 40s during his 50s. Yeah. he seems to have de-aged himself magically here through the magic of hair pieces and facial hair, and presumably some hair dye as well.
Yes. Okay. Well, so we've spent a long time on this issue of Spider-Man, but there was a lot to talk about. Is there anything else anybody wants to say about this issue of Spider-Man before we move on to Fantastic Four Annual number 6?
The only thing I thought was really, really interesting is, the 2-page splash with what if you were drawn by other artists, and you got Mickey Mouse. Spider-Man drawn as Mickey Mouse. That's I did think when I saw it, I was like, Is that looking at the future? What is that?
I don't know. Good point.
Good point, indeed. Yes. No, and I love him as Charlie Brown too. That's
yeah.
All right. So let's move on to Fantastic Four. Oh, and actually, we were talking, is it King Size Special or Annual? It's actually called both on this cover. Up in the very upper left-hand corner, it says Fantastic Four Annual. Twice as many pages, twice as many thrills. King Size Special Fantastic Four. Let there be ... life. And we get to see Annihilus for the first time on the bottom of this cover. I had really not gotten that Annihilus took this much longer after Blastar to be introduced. I think, Matt, I think you and I have talked about in the past how we sort of thought of Annihilus as being the primary Negative Zone villain, and Blastar as kind of being a second run Negative Zone villain. But it took a couple of years before we ever got to see Annihilus.
Yeah. So really, we should say that this is the first great Kirby villain that's been introduced in a while. And I think it can pretty safely be said this is the last great Kirby villain. Kirby is not done with Fantastic Four. He's still got another 2.5 years, I think, on the book, but with no more great villains introduced. This is the last one, but it is a doozy. This is a last great villain.
Yes. So Let There Be Life, a spectacular movie-length epic complete in this collector's item issue, featuring the glory of birth neath the shadow of death. Weigh out wonderment as none but Stan the Man Lee and Jack King Kirby could create it. Embellished by Joe Sinnott, lettered by Sam Rosen. So Sue has been pregnant for the last year at this point. And I don't know whether you want to say that's just because they wanted to do both the pregnancy reveal and the birth in two different annuals, or whether you want to say that's because of the cosmic rays, or whether you want to say that's because of Franklin bending time. But one way or the other, she has been pregnant for a while. She is due to pop any moment, but they're very much afraid that there are these anomalies created by the cosmic rays that are in her blood work that they're afraid could spell possible death for the mother and or the baby. So Reed is deciding that he has to go into the negative zone to get something to save Sue and Franklin. The as yet unnamed Franklin. The reason for this is it doesn't really matter too much. But
they need some sort of substance that you can only find in the negative zone that will counteract the cosmic antibodies in her blood.
Yes, something to that effect. So they jump into the negative zone. Really great Kirby crackle panel on the top right of page 5, and then some more psychedelic weirdness on the bottom of page 5. Although Kirby doesn't do psychedelic weirdness, well, this isn't really doing psychedelic weirdness as much as either Steranko or Ditko could do, but we have to wait until the double page spread for that.
Yes.
So when we get to the double page spread, pages 6 and 7, this is where Kirby can really do psychedelic weirdness, is with a photo collage. And so we get another one of his famous photo collages here with, I don't even know what to describe is going on in the background.
Yes.
It's impossible.
It looks like pipe organs and
yeah,
it's a lot of stuff on.
We all know Jack Kirby loved the movie 2001. The question is, had the movie 2001 come out at this point? That came out in 1968. This issue came out in December 1968. But there's a little bit of one could imagine there's a 2001 influence here, just in terms of the mind-bendingness of the objects we're seeing in the background.
Sure. Yeah. So they make it into the negative zone and they get attacked by some weird negative zone form of life. Mr. Fantastic gets sucked down into the inside of some little planetoid. Johnny and Ben are left outside. So then we get an aside back to New York City where Crystal is waiting to find out some more news about Sue. And one of the doctors is saying that there's something in her blood cells that we don't understand. They're manifestations of cosmic impulses, living energy caused by the incredible accident which created the Fantastic Four, energy which, if uncontrolled, may soon cause the death of mother and child. It's like, dude, I don't think you need to lay it out quite that thick to a friend of, it's just, let's assume that things might turn out a little bit better than all that before laying all that out.
Steve, I tripped over this page a little bit too, just because I'm thinking like HIPAA, all the things I have to sign when going to a doctor and everything. And he's like, well, you're going to find out anyway, so come on in, I'm like,
Right. Yes, this is long before HIPAA.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Back in the negative zone, the Thing and the Torch are trying to unearth where Mr. Fantastic was. That brings them to Annihilus's attention. Apparently, Annihilus is the one who had brought Mr. Fantastic into this planetoid. And we find out that he is immortal, or wants to become or remain immortal. And he is immortal because others must die. And he has this cosmic control rod, which is life-giving and life-prolonging. And not man nor beast shall ever wrest it from me, he says. So,
which a great story driver. From now on, every Annihilus story will involve somebody trying to steal his cosmic control rod, or the cosmic control rod being put to unexpected uses. It's a fun way to generate stories for his character.
Yes, and it's another great object of power that's now added to the Marvel mythos,
Yes.
the control rod. Annihilus is going and finding Mr. Fantastic in this little menagerie that he has. So when Mr. Fantastic came in, he was dumped into this room with these other alien sort of beings. And Annihilus is like, okay, well, all these other beings are just sort of brutes in one way or another, but you have some sort of specialness to you. So I'm going to figure out what's going on with you. Basically fries all the other beings that are in there. Annihilus does. And as soon as Mr. Fantastic sees the cosmic control rod, he says, if he has a cosmic control device whose energy can be regulated, then I've found what I came here for, in like super big, bold type. So he now has found the thing that he needs. But then Annihilus takes Mr. Fantastic and throws him into another prison at this point, this one with Johnny and Ben. Reed, Johnny, and Ben try to escape. At one point, Annihilus has a giant boot that comes down and tries to stomp on them.
Well, they're like, the way to defeat Johnny is I'll send a giant flying sponge after him. And then the way to defeat Reed is I've got a giant buzzsaw that's going to gum him up. And the way to defeat Ben is I've got a giant boot, a giant stone boot that is going to crush him. And then it's a lot of fun. And, you know, as so often happens in these comics, they're like, we're going to take care of each other's thing. At least Johnny has to burn up the buzzsaw that is going after Reed. But then they're going to try to help Ben. But Ben is like, nope. And it is an awesome sequence where then he manages to finally dig his fingers into the boot and shred it into 1,000 pieces of rubble.
Yes.
No, I guess he doesn't really shred it, does he? He swings it around and uses it to break out.
Well, I mean, I think he shreds its connections to whatever hydraulics or whatever it is that are connecting it. So yeah, I'll accept that. And we get a resounding "it's clobbering time" associated with all of that. So they're able to knock out Annihilus, and Mr. Fantastic takes the cosmic control rod, and then they go and grab this fully automated rail plane. What a rail plane is, I'm not entirely sure, but that's what they have. And so they go ahead and take off in that. Annihilus comes to. He's like, apparently I underestimated the alien invaders. I was a fool to toy with them. I should have destroyed them on the spot. But then after a moment, he's just like, what is this? The cosmic control rod? It's gone. So he's very unhappy about this. And then he's like, and my plane. They took my plane. So he's a little bit more hapless in this particular first appearance than I would have expected. But he ends up sending these borers after them, BORERS, which are some really cool looking monsters that he sends out after the Fantastic Three. They are able to destroy the rail plane and get into fisticuffs with the Fantastic Three. Mr. Fantastic figures out that with the cosmic control rod, he can just use his thoughts to make things happen. And so now that their plane has been disintegrated, he is then using the cosmic control rod to fly them around in the negative zone. So Annihilus goes and gets another gunship that he's got that he is going to take out and try to take care of our heroes. And we've got a fantastic splash page on page 32 with them being blasted by this gunship. Just a really fun splash page on that. But Mr. Fantastic is thinking this cosmic control rod has probably a limited amount of power. So I don't want to use it all up doing stuff here in the negative zone. I want to save a fair amount of it to be able to do what I want it to do when we get back to the non-negative universe. They are like, oh, okay, well, you know, since we're just sort of floating around here in space, let's go ahead and hang out on those rocks that are just floating there. Oh yeah, okay, sure, we'll hang on to these rocks. Wait, rocks? Wait a minute. I just remembered we've seen these things before. And they're the ones that are approaching the big negative antimatter planet that is constantly exploding in the negative zone. And so they realize now that they are being drawn in towards that. And
we get our first glimpse. They're like imagining what life is like on the antimatter planet, and it looks kind of like life on Earth. And it's like going, yes, oh, there's probably people living there. But if I ever shook hands with them, then you would have, as the one thing anyone who has read any pop culture knows from the last 500 years, it's that when matter and antimatter meet, everything is destroyed. And we never actually visit the antimatter planet. It's always looming there, but we've never actually visited it. But it's interesting to see them imagining what it would be like to visit it.
Yes. And I will say, wasn't 500 years. Antimatter didn't exist as a concept until it was not known to science until much more recently. And that's not just pop culture stuff. If matter and antimatter meet, they annihilate each other and create a huge explosion. So that is actual science. Of course, years and years later, when John Byrne is doing the Fantastic Four, he has a fantastic storyline that he does where the Fantastic Four set off as explorers in the negative zone and end up exploring all these different worlds that are just worlds like in our universe, but they're in the negative zone. And this reminds me a little bit of that. I kind of wonder if I went back and looked at that now, if they actually see some of these things from this sequence there. That would be interesting if they did. But yeah, somehow the cosmic control rod can't do anything here at this point in the negative zone. They have some sort of hand waving reason why it's now suddenly powerless in this particular location. So it can't help them. But then Annihilus is there, and they're trying to figure out how do they get out of this and get out of there with the cosmic control rod, or at least the things the cosmic control rod needs to do for them. Meanwhile, there's a whole press availability going on in the hospital about Sue's pregnancy, which, once again, what you're bringing up about HIPAA, it's like we're going to actually have a press conference about your medical issues. Unbeknownst to you, you've got nothing going on in this. We're just going to go ahead and talk about you. Reed is able to make a deal with Annihilus, saying that we will give you back your cosmic control rod if you give us these little harnesses that Reed had made to be able to get around in the negative zone. And
first he happens to have a little siphon in his belt that allows him to siphon out just what he needs out of the cosmic control rod, just enough stuff to save Sue, just enough whatever particles are inside, negative zone particles are inside that he's going to need to save Sue.
Yes. We have thrown the science out the window at this on back like 20 pages back. So let's just go.
It's like, oh yeah, I just happen to have an antimatter vial with me here. I'll just go ahead and good thing I brought this with me.
I mean, to be fair, this is why he came.
Sure.
It's not unusual that he would have an antimatter collecting vial in his pocket. It's odd that it has the right flange on it to screw into the cosmic control rod. That's, as someone who has spent a lot of time in my life at Radio Shack and now dearly misses Radio Shack now that it's gone, I can tell you that it is truly surprising that he was able to attach one device to the other.
So Johnny and Ben are both like, well, Reed, why are you giving back the cosmic control rod? It's now that we have what we want. He's like, well, I made a deal. I gave my word. I'm not going to go back on that. So he throws the cosmic control rod back towards Annihilus, but they throw it behind him. So it's like, you'll have to turn around and go get that so that you can't turn your attention back to us anytime soon. Another fantastic splash page on page 43 with the three of them soaring out of the negative zone. So then we're through. They're now back into the regular world. We then see once again in the hospital, there's a first-time father awaiting the birth of his new child. And he's pacing around, making everybody nervous, then realizes that Reed and Ben and Johnny are all around here as well. So and then he's like, oh wow, okay, hey, have we heard about your patient here? Because I know all about it because of the press conference. All that kind of stuff. So then Reed comes out into the waiting room looking very somber, and at first it's just like, oh no, what's going on? Reed, say something. Why do you look so grim? That's, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to worry you. I just was lost in thought. The baby's due any minute now. There's nothing more we can do. I've never felt so helpless before. So
it's like modern day when they expect the dad to be there for the birth and they expect the dad to cut the umbilical cord, which I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if you've got any kids, Kelly, but when I had my son and daughter, I refused to cut the umbilical cord because I want nothing to do with that. I'm like, nope, I'm not good with scissors. I'm not good with cutting things. I am not going to do this. And they treated me like I was history's greatest monster. They were like, it's your one job, dude. You're supposed to cut the umbilical cord. And I'm like, no, you are medical professionals. You are going to be better at this than I am. You guys are going to cut this umbilical cord. And I just handed them the scissors back forcefully both times. And they were, just rolled their eyes as they went ahead and cut the cord.
Yes, my job is to feed her ice chips and encourage throughout. Yeah. So at the end, the doctors and Crystal and the press all come out into the waiting room. So apparently the press.
There's a military guy too behind Johnny. If you look on the left, it's like, was there a general there?
Where? Oh yeah, you're right.
Is that a general? Like what?
I had not seen that. But yes, indeed. But yeah, so apparently the press knew that the baby was born healthy before Reed did because of the camera in there. So then the three of them come in to see Sue, and she says, "Come in and meet your new son." And when I saw this, I was like, wow, so Sue looks really well put together for a woman who just pushed a human being out of herself moments before and has probably been sweating and in massive pain for a while now. But I have been told that supposedly back in the day, they often would bring someone in to kind of do your hair and makeup before bringing your husband in to see the baby.
Never heard of that. Okay. All right.
Because I posted about this online. I was just like, oh, come on. She does not look like she just had a baby. And someone's like, no, that actually is a thing that they would do. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, well, it was the 60s, I guess. Anyway, that is the end. Or instead of the end, it says the beginning. Although Sue does look exhausted, like she's just fallen back asleep again on that final panel on page 48. Yeah. So there we are. We now have introduced Franklin to the. Actually, do they name Franklin here?
They do not. They do not name him. Nope.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't noticed that until just this very moment. Okay. Well, anyway, we will get his name shortly, I assume. So there we are. I think a beautifully drawn issue. I think it's a lot of fun, lots of adventure. It's fantastic to get Annihilus added to the Marvel Universe. What else is there to say? Kelly, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll say, I try to put myself in the mindset of being a young boy in 1968 and finding this on the rack for 25 cents. And after going through this, I would feel like I would have gotten my money's worth and maybe another 25 cents worth. I felt like this was like worth 50 cents. I really feel like this was just, I know we can sit here as adults now, like pick on it a little bit and have fun, but man, this would have blown my mind back then. I feel like it was crammed full of like action, great storytelling, great artwork. Just there was a point to it. A kid being born. Yeah, the science you can throw out the window a little bit because there was some of it just did not make sense. But man, I was really impressed by this. It's been a long time since I watched. I really love Kirby on X-Men. Like that X-Men was kind of more my books and everything. Like that was the one that's what got me into comic books essentially was X-Men. So just seeing Kirby again and this light, I was like, wow, because I've never read this one before this. I really enjoyed this. I think the thing that really kind of shocked me, and again, if I probably went back and read some of the other stuff from that period, was the dialogue. How they're telling you, hey, Stretcho, what blazes are you doing here? Like back on the first page, and he's like, shut up, I know what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah, okay. Reed can be a bit of a dick.
True, but there is that, and even then, kind of Johnny and the Thing have always had that kind of brotherly tension throughout the years, but still, that some of that dialogue, it was like, ooh, that's a little harsh. That's a little. Yeah. So, and I think that was probably some of the mindset of the 60s, though. That really, this is when it was made. It was during that time period and everything. But speaking towards like some of the science of things, I thought, I would like to know, like, okay, so did Reed discover this? Did the doctors discover it? Like maybe that's in the regular issues. I don't know. I suspect it's not, but kind of like, yeah.
No.
Okay. It's action, it's comic books, it's a fast-paced story. They're throwing a lot at you, but I feel like they just crammed so much in here. I do think, and I just kind of wonder, like the control rod and everything. I like the idea of that, but I kind of wonder, if you did that in a movie now, is that the control rod? I'm going to control the galaxy through immortality with my control rod. It sounds a little weird,
Sure.
So it's kind of like, is that still a thing with Annihilus and everything? I don't know, honestly, because I know they've had the Annihilus Wars and stuff like that. And I haven't read all that, but I'd be interested to see if that's something that's still around. But and I honestly don't know.
I certainly read no shortage of great Cosmic Control Rod stories growing up. So I got to say, one of my favorite comics as a kid, when I was just the right age for it, was Marvel 2-in-1 number 75, which was a big Annihilus versus Blastar issue that then involved the Thing and the Avengers getting sucked into sort of them warring with each other for who got to control the negative zone. And in the end, Blastar gets away with the Cosmic Control Rod and leaves Annihilus dying. And that issue is just, oh my God, I can't tell you how much I love that issue. And it definitely was a book done by someone who loved this issue, done by Tom DeFalco and Alan Cooperberg who did that issue. It was a loving tribute to this issue.
Okay, no, I might have to put that on my list to read. So,
Yeah.
But I really like the splash, not the splash, but the, what is it, page? I don't see a number on it. It's right before the bodybuilding guy with the nihilist. It's like a side shot where Thing and Human Torch are kind of in the prison where nihilist is talking about. It's page 12. Just that side view of him. Like, I really love what Kirby did with the mechanics on that, just kind of the shape of the head, and just really sold that character to me a little bit. So,
you mean just the picture of a nihilist cackling from the side?
Yeah.
Kirby loves a good cackle. Kirby loves to show villains cackling. And Annihilus right away joins the all-time pantheon of great cacklers. He's got a helmet made for cackling. And he just looks great here. And it's funny, Annihilus, like Psycho Man, like a lot of Kirby villains, it's like, all right, is this how he actually looks, or is this a helmet he's wearing? And it's a little bit unclear. Like, clearly this is some sort of hard carapace here, but is that because he's a insectoid type person with an exoskeleton, or is he actually wearing a helmet? And eventually it will be made clear that he is wearing a helmet here, that we're not seeing any of his actual flesh here, but that won't be clear for many years.
But cackle away, man, because I loved it. So But yeah, no, I'm just going through looking at these pages, and I mean, just solid Kirby, fun. It was a fun story for me to read because, like I said, I was more X-Men guy, so I didn't really read. So I didn't read a lot of the early FF stuff with Kirby, and I mean, I've read some through over the years, but I don't think I had not ever read this issue. So it was just a great kind of throwback for me to enjoy that. The big boot. I mean, yeah, we can laugh at it, but I mean, you know, it's Kirby. It's Kirby.
It's a great visual, though. It's a great visual.
No, Steve. What was a great visual was the all engulfing sonic sponge. I mean, like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, that's kind of cool, but what the heck is? I don't know. And that's the point of it. It's like, what the heck is this? The negative zone. But it was fun. And Johnny, by gosh, if you get in there, it's going to suck all the oxygen out and you're going to die. I don't know, but it was always just a neat little character. You see him for what, 2 or 3 panels, and that's fine, you know.
Well, it's the sort of thing where you have to be prepared. You're like, at some point in my life, I may have to fight a flaming guy. And you just never know when a flaming person will attack you. And it's great to just have a giant flying sponge there in case it happens. And Annihilus is prepared.
Yes. Yeah. And I did like the borers too. I thought those were really cool designs, like that big circular snout jaw thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. That's kind of cool. I like that and everything. So that's the great thing about Kirby's designs, though. A lot of them hadn't changed over the years. You know what I mean? Well, I still see Annihilus, he's essentially still the same character, you know, like when they, Fantastic Four. I mean, those costumes, they've changed them, modified them. Oh, let's do the white one with the foundation now or whatever. But they still always come back to that essential blue and black design. And it's worked. It stood the test of time and everything. So, I'm just looking through these, just really. I like how the thing says something's clobbering us and stuff. You know, it's clobbering. So he used it on himself. But this is great. I'm just going through. There's so many pages here. It felt like, I know they said it was like twice the pages or whatever. I feel like it was like 4 times the amount of pages. I just felt like there was like so much jammed into this story, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. So a normal comic is 20 pages and this one is 48, so it's 2.5 times, which is good because it's more than twice the cost. A normal comic was 12 cents, this is 25 cents, so they're charging you more than twice, but they're also giving you more than twice the number of pages. This is just a great issue. Kirby was accused of no longer bringing his A game to the book in his final years on the book. And people were like, no, he's like, I'm going to save up my good stuff for DC when I move over there and we're going to do the New Gods and all that. And I'm not getting the respect I deserve here at Marvel. If that's true, then this issue was his last gasp of really giving it his all because, he is creating a great villain for the ages here. And really, even if you look on page 13 of Reed being held in the pen with the other creatures, all of those creatures look great on the last panel of page 13. Like, they've all got really cool designs.
And this is Kirby really, really bringing his A game. This is Kirby really doing fantastic work here. It's not like Kirby does bad work in the next 2.5 years on this book. He does a lot of really great work, but his days like in the first 20 issues of Fantastic Four when he created so many great villains, those are long gone. Instead, they'll do long storylines. They'll do a long Doctor Doom storyline. They'll do a long Skrull storyline. And, the whole idea that, you're going to get another great new villain in every issue is long gone. But this is our last great done-in-one story, even though it's done in a massive one, done in 48 pages. But This is a great done-in-one story.
As they say on the first page, a spectacular movie-length epic complete in this collector's item issue. So they're making it clear that this is enough story to fill up more than just one issue here.
I'd say that Kirby is getting better at photo collage reproduction. How sometimes in the past he's got something where it's like, okay, this was clearly a very cool photo collage, but it is not reproducing well, so we'll never know for sure. And I think Kirby is actually taking more time with that and figuring out, okay, not just what's the coolest stuff I can throw in here, but what's the coolest stuff I can throw in here that will reproduce well. And I think it's a really beautiful double page photo collage splash as it is. And I just end my notes by going like, Franklin, such a major Marvel character. He will gradually grow and grow and grow in importance until he becomes sort of the central character of the Marvel universe by the time you get to Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars. But as we've talked about before, this is the time when the Marvel universe has to slow way down because the Marvel universe has been going for 9 years and they've sort of been acting like 9 years have passed. But now, 9 years from now, Franklin is not going to be 9 years old. So they're going to be slowing way down.
Yes.
So I'd be interested. I don't know if it exists, but this collage that we're looking at with the Kirby collage that he did, is there still original art for that? Like, I wonder if anybody owns that, or if it's still out there, or if it was like, once they printed, they just threw it away. It was like, we don't need it. Or I'd really be interested in that and to kind of see what that would actually look like too.
Yeah, and I would assume that the photo collage was done on a separate board. And then this was photo stats from the photo collage that were then put on here that then had the figures, pasted up on them. But that's just completely an assumption on my part. But so the question is, is there original art for these pages? And is the original photo collage around if that's a separate thing? Because that would be amazing. I'm assuming that that's probably long gone, but that would be fantastic.
Never ask where Kirby's original art is because there's just going to be a big fight about it. And the answer is that nobody knows. It's stolen. The people who steal all of the famous stolen artworks in the world have it in a basement somewhere. Jack Kirby's relatives never got the money they deserved for it. I think we can say that safely. By the way, I looked it up. Franklin Richards is not named until issue 94. So currently we're on issue 81 of Fantastic Four. So Franklin Richards will not be named for more than a year later.
Wow. Okay.
Right. Interesting choice.
Okay. So there is no back matter here. The whole book is one big story. Is there anything final that... Who is that? Is one of you getting arrested?
Yeah. Hold on just a second. Let me call my bail bondsman. No.
Do you want a cake with a nail file in it? Okay. Okay, so is there anything final that anybody has to say about Fantastic Four Annual number 6 before we wrap up?
Just spectacular.
I enjoyed it.
Spectacular issue. So, guys, this has been a lot of fun. Kelly, I think that you were very greedy in that we originally told you, what annuals do you want to do if you come on the show? And you were like, I want to do Spider-Man Annual number 5 and Fantastic Four Annual number 6. And I think that you chose very well for yourself. I think that you were like, these are two hella great issues that I want to cover. And it worked out very well.
Well, I don't want to spoil any of your future shows or anything, but I did get into the Hulk 1 for a little bit. And I will say this, I struggled.
Yeah.
That's all.
You mean Hulk Annual number 1? You mean?
Yes.
Yeah, we've already covered it. I like that issue a lot, but I'm a fan of Marie Severin's art, and of course the Steranko cover is legendary. But there were some story problems in that issue. I would certainly agree with that.
Yes, I didn't have any problem with the art. It was the story. I struggled. So.
And that was Gary Friedrich, wasn't it?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
But no, this was great. This was fun. Like just kind of, I wouldn't say revisiting because I've never read these before, but revisiting from the same era for some of the other stuff I've read. So this was a fun thing for me to go back and do.
Yep.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for being our guest today. We really appreciate it, and we may have you on again at some point in the future if you are up to such things. And then meanwhile, I'm looking forward to seeing you at Heroes Con in a month or so.
3 weeks, 3, 4, 3. Yeah. Yes. Next month. How about that?
Yes. So, and also, I guess we'll put that out there to folks out there in podcast land that if you are near Charlotte, North Carolina, I am going to be at the annual Heroes Con in Charlotte this year, as I am pretty much every year. And Kelly will be there as well as some of our other old comics friends.
Yep. Very cool. Well, I wish I could make it. Things are too busy here, but I would love to swing by there some year. Okay, guys. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Kelly. This has been 2 great Marvel comics, and we're so glad we got to discuss them with you. All right, everybody. We'll go ahead and say goodbye, I guess.
I guess so. All right. Yeah. So everybody, thanks. Please rate and review us. And I guess that's it. So take care. And as always, stay safe out there.
Yep. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it, we now have a Patreon where you can show your appreciation. If you've got a few bucks, head over to patreon.marvelrereadclub.com to support us. Also, you can still rate and review us at your podcatcher of choice, and that would be greatly appreciated as well. You can find us online at marvelrereadclub.com, as well as Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads. See you next time.